Welcome to the FullCleared YouTube channel. I am non-gamer Craig Cole, presenting a review of Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, written by our resident expert Jason Siu. Now let's see what he has to say about this new tower defense game and whether it's better than past installments. Doesn't sound like it is, but I wouldn't know because I haven't played it or done any actual research about this particular title. Let's go! The Orcs Must Die franchise is a prime example of games that are best enjoyed with friends, and I would if I had any. See, the formula mixes third-person combat with tower defense, dealing with waves of enemies as you try to protect a rift or two, and I don't know what that means, so I'm going to trust Jason's judgment right here.
When the rifts close, the magic dies.
So says the prophecy!
Okay. So, the original Orcs Must Die was released in 2011, and over the years we've seen 3 mainline entries that continue to iterate and evolve the formula. Now, for the most part, the series has remained consistent, adding new traps, characters, enemies, and maps, like Baby Park. But the latest entry, Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, takes a different route. Aiming to capitalize on the recent trend of roguelites, I might have to look that up on Urban Dictionary because I have no idea what it means. The game eschews a campaign for individual missions and meta progression to enhance characters and traps. In theory, the formula of Orcs Must Die Deathtrap sounds promising. Take the core gameplay that has made the series fun and add roguelite mechanics to randomize each game playthrough. As fans of games like Vampire Survivors, I've spent many an hour playing that. We were excited about the change in the formula, but unfortunately, Orcs Must Die Deathtrap has several issues that leave us feeling mixed, like a fine cocktail. Now, for some, these changes will be welcomed, but for others, they may be too much of a departure from the mainline series to be really enjoyable. For those unfamiliar with the Orcs Must Die franchise, that would be me, the core gameplay loop is pretty straightforward. You're given time to set up defenses in preparation for each wave, which includes obstacles to push enemies in the direction you want them to go. Now, the idea here is to set up elaborate kill zones, how fun, and then finish off stragglers with your character's attacks or abilities. Nobody's limping away here, folks. Everybody is going down. Now, each wave becomes progressively more difficult by adding stronger enemies with the occasional gimmick here and there in the form of a flying enemy or a goblin sapper that can destroy barricades. As you progress, the goal is to upgrade your traps and refine your strategies, or even the pathing of the mobs with currency earned from the prior wave. And look at that, they are incentivizing you with monetary benefits. Invest wisely. Past mainline entries in the series focused on a linear campaign with an assortment of maps, which is not the case with Orcs Must Die Deathtrap. Instead, this title has players start by selecting one of 3 missions, each dealing with 6 waves, before choosing another mission. Now, these routes eventually end with a boss mission, which consists of only a single wave. And each time you defeat a boss, the next run adds another mission, progressively increasing the difficulty until you unlock an endless mode after defeating 4 bosses. In total, there are 11 maps with day, night, and rain variants, and to add a twist, if you will, some maps have 2 rifts to defend, and I guess that's twice as hard? I don't know what a rift is. There's also a new corruption mechanic designed to introduce variability in the maps by creating restricted areas where players can't place traps. Now, while 11 maps may sound like a good amount, the reality is that you'll quickly determine which maps you'll want to avoid. While there are affixes affecting each map when you're selecting, chances are you're going to select the one you know best or find the least tedious to play. A bigger issue is how unnecessarily large these maps are, and it's painfully obvious that Orcs Must Die Deathtrap was primarily designed for 4 players, and while it can be enjoyed solo, Jason finds it to be a little bit boring. Because the maps are so large, you often find yourself standing around, waiting for enemies to enter your kill zone. In order to balance multiplayer, the game doesn't just spawn more enemies and increase their health. It limits the number of traps each player can have on their hotbar, which sounds like a buffet, and divides the total barricades among the group, though not in an exact ratio. So, for example, in solo play, you have access to 22 barricades total. With 2 players, it's 10 barricades per player, while 3 players get 6 barricades each, and so on. Limiting the number of traps one can have on their hotbar isn't a huge deal, since you can just work with your partners to determine who has the strongest traps for each type. However, the overall reduction in total barricades makes things a bit more interesting if you're used to setting up each map in a specific way. I want a hotbar in my bathroom. That's where I do all my cooking. You got the shower you can prep things into, and if anything falls, you can just shuffle it down the drain. If you haven't tried bathroom cooking, I highly recommend it. When I say setting up each map, I'm alluding to using barricades to maze the enemies onto the path that you want them to run. Now, traditionally, tower defense games are all about creating the longest path for the enemies in order to dish out the most damage. Another issue with Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, though, is that once you determine the ideal setup for each map, it's easily replicated. While the corruption mechanic tries to derail this, we haven't run into an instance where it actually impacted us. In other words, we have setups for each of the 11 maps, and corruption has never interfered. Personally, Jason would have liked to see corruption be even more random and intrusive, forcing players to find new ways to set up barricades. Selecting one of 3 maps at the start of each mission isn't the only roguelite element in Orcs Must Die Deathtrap. After completing a wave, each player is presented with one of the 3 choices that can impact their traps, character, and more. These are called threads, and while most of them are rather basic, increasing critical hit chance of ceiling traps by 10%, for example, some lean towards the risk-reward side. There are also some threads that are easy picks, such as making your barricades double wide, which essentially doubles the number of barricades you can have. I would have never guessed that based on the name. It's just like the trailer park up the road. Like other roguelites, players will have to make a decision on when to abandon their run in order to preserve the number of skulls they've collected, which goes toward meta progression unlocks. Failing a run means earning less, as you're essentially gambling when you choose to progress to the next mission. This video is brought to you by Thracks. Anthros. In the high-stakes world of competitive gaming, yes, that's a thing, comfort and performance make all the difference. So meet Anthros, the leader in innovative gaming chairs, and you thought it was just something to sit on. You were wrong. Engineered with their precision posture system, Anthros allows you to sit like you game, slumped over and covered in crumbs. No, I'm sorry, that's just me. Perfectly aligned and fully supported, match after match. Chosen as the official chair of ESL and DreamHack, Anthros is committed to elevating the gaming experience for professionals worldwide. Now, to get $200 off, scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description box below to configure your perfect Anthros gaming chair today. Join the leaders in esports and upgrade your game with Anthros. Sit like you game. We thank Anthros for their support of FullCleared and for offering our audience that exclusive discount. God bless. In terms of progression, it's pretty standard fare. Players can unlock and upgrade traps, and there's also a skill tree for each character to boost their starting stats. There's nothing in the systems here that's revolutionary or even stands out. It's mainly about increasing values to make each subsequent run more manageable for progression. There are plenty of upgrades to extend playtime, but ultimately they don't require much decision-making. For characters, the game initially offers 6 to choose from, providing a good variety that caters to multiple playstyles, whether you prefer melee or ranged. There is a hidden 7th character that can be unlocked. Is it Waluigi? It's gotta be Waluigi. I know it's gotta be him. Playing with a group requires each player to use a unique character, encouraging team building or unnecessary squabbling. However, if you've invested in a character and someone else selects them first, you're gonna have to choose another. Trap variety is where the game shines, as expected, with an abundance of options to choose from, whether you want wall traps, floor traps, or ceiling traps. And while playing in a group does reduce the number of traps you can have in your loadout, it can be more enjoyable for some groups if you're communicating about setups. Communication is important. I recommend you use Microsoft Teams. It's the industry standard. Before we get to Jason's verdict about this game, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the FullCleared YouTube channel for more rambling, poorly presented videos just like this one. I mean, we're trying. We'll leave it at that. If you've played previous Orcs Must Die games and enjoy modern roguelites like Hades or Vampire Survivors, you'll have a good idea of what Orcs Must Die Deathtrap offers. Just be wary that the maps are rather large, and the variety diminishes quickly after a few runs. In addition, there are some quality-of-life features noticeably missing, like markers on the minimap for drops. It's really easy to miss them if you're not constantly running around the map, which is exhausting even in a video game. And that's especially difficult to do when you're playing solo and prefer to protect the rift, but there are drops from enemies in your kill zones. One of the biggest changes for veterans is the barricade restriction, which is quite controversial. Enemy variety is a bit of a miss too, since you'll see it all after a couple of successful runs. Also, as you progress further, some of the runs can take a very long time. We've had some that took more than 2 hours. Ain't nobody got time for that. To make matters worse, you can only save your progress between missions, not waves, and that's only available in solo play. If you're playing in a group, there is no way to save progress, and if the host disconnects, the run ends. If you enjoy the gameplay of Orcs Must Die and have friends to play with, Orcs Must Die Deathtrap will offer you a couple dozen hours of entertainment. How much fun you'll actually have, however, depends on how much you like the changes to the formula. And I'd argue the roguelite elements aren't exactly game-changing and don't justify the removal of a campaign. Ironically, the game's biggest downfall is the overall lack of variety, even though roguelite should inherently offer more choices and variability in each run. If you're looking to enjoy this solo, it's probably best to check it out on Game Pass. Well, I hope you found this video useful. If not, maybe it was entertaining. And if you did make it this far, please leave a comment down below, either supportive or incendiary, I don't care. After decades in media, my skin is thicker than an elephant's. Anyway, thanks for watching and bye!